fun little intellectual exercise, just for myself, but I thought it might be fun to record it. So what I was going to try to do was imagine a sandbox scenario where my brain is a sandbox, and I try to imagine why someone might vote for various candidates like Trump or the bunch of different Democratic candidates. So I'm Canadian, so I probably don't know what each of them really is all about, but I'm just going to try to imagine it, and it might be completely wrong. But then I've also kind of been paying a lot of attention to Yang, and so then I was going to try to just say what I see as some of the advantages of each perspective, and then what Yang's perspective, and maybe try to muscle out why I think Yang might be a good option for certain people. So to a Trump supporter, like trying to imagine, so I'm in a different country, so it's kind of hard to imagine exactly why people support Trump, but it's obviously going to be a wide range of reasons. He is funny, and he disrespects this establishment or the establishment, and he breaks all kinds of rules. And some people, I think, like this rule-breaking nature. I don't know why they're in such a period. You guys are in such a period of where you really want to break rules, but like it seems like there's a large upswelling of people who are trying to stand up against some sort of establishment, and Trump's going to call it the deep state, probably. I don't know, or the apparatus or something like that. So why are these people supporting Trump? So they like those ideas. What else is it? I think he spoke about a lot of things that were relevant in certain parts of the country, and he created his own unique narrative and message that did resonate with parts of the country, right? Because from a distance, it seems a little bit like the poor rural areas seem to be more supportive of Trump, and that the richer parts tend to be in the cities tend to be pro the Democratic Party. Some of them fall more on the progressive side, and some of them fall more on the kind of more moderate side. And that kind of like the affluent white people in the cities especially support the Democratic Party, but sometimes they're supporting different parts than the less affluent people in those same cities. And so both sides of that seems to have been kind of basically going against the rural population, the poor rural population. Is that, I don't know, that's probably not accurate. It seems like the CNN and MSNBC and all those ones, they can't say anything positive about Trump. And it seems like Fox is able to say a higher percentage negative Trump, but not that high. And so it's like you guys are in this situation where trying to find clear voices is probably pretty challenging, especially if you're turning to regular old TV stuff. And so that's probably people 45 and older. I don't know, something like that. And so younger people are turning to the internet for their messages, and then older people are mostly going to CNN and MSNBC, I guess, and Vox. Like, just they're breaking up partly by geographic kind of or demographic profile. It seems like there's an increasing number of sort of prolific African Americans who are starting to support Trump, and I don't know if that's real or not, but there seems to be some news there. And to Trump supporters, so to some of them, I would say, if you were just looking for an option that was not as scary to you as Hillary Clinton, who was like hardcore establishment, hardcore military industrial complex, hardcore regime change war, if that stuff was part of the reason why she was so scary to you, and I think you can go on and on with a bunch of things that made Hillary Clinton really scared. There's lots of conspiracy type theory type ideas that from the outside, we don't have a clue whether what's real and what's not. Probably neither do you, right? But it seems like there's a possibility that there might be some really like shadier undertones that scares certain percentage of the population. I don't know what it would be, but and a lot of those people just went to Trump for that reason. And especially to those voters, I would say Andrew Yang is an interesting choice. It's hard to imagine he beats Donald Trump, right? But imagine the different conversation that you could have with Andrew Trump or Andrew Yang. Andrew Trump. That's funny. Like with the two of them sitting down and having conversations, I don't know if Trump is capable of having conversation, but can you imagine if he just knew he was going to win and Yang just kept saying real stuff and they had to have real conversation? That could be really good for the world, just a real conversation. And it's not going to be super possible, but I think he's our best bet of someone who can have a real conversation. And for the people on the internet who are like, oh, trying to figure this out, I just kicked the table. The people are trying to figure this out. Maybe he's an option that allows us to kind of like verbalize this real conversation. I think people probably feel the same way about Tulsi, and people have really felt this way about Bernie. Like where it's like, what are people actually feeling? We don't want to just be spoon-fed something from CNN or MSNBC if we got one perspective, or Fox from the other perspective. We wanted real people. We want to talk about this, and we want to actually make a real thought out sort of perspective that we want to aim towards. So Tulsi, a lot of people think that the United States is pretty intense with like going to war with a lot of countries, right? I love the United States. I sort of think of them as, our best shot as a city on a hill, like a bit of a light. China has, I guess, some nice aspects. Maybe I don't know. Like to me, the United States has potential, and I think all the citizens in the world want a healthy United States, because I think a healthy United States leads to a healthy China, and healthy United States and China leads to a healthy Russia. And if these three countries can be healthy, the world's going to be healthier, right? That would be good. We want a healthy world. And I think he helps lead us to that healthy world where we're having real conversations. The world's changing fast, right? It's changing so fast. We need to have real one-on-one conversations with each other about what the world should have. And if the media is just so caught up in narrative, and, I think all the Bernie people, all the Andrew Yang people, all the Tulsi people, all the Trump people, we all see that something's happening in CNN and MSNBC, and they have decided where the conversation has to be. And a lot of us are like, we don't know that the newspapers and some combination of the military and industrial complex and whatever the DNC has become right now is probably an option that we're wanting to see the world go in that direction of control. We would like to see a little bit more. We want a real representation of actual people to direct the world. I imagine the world's changing enough that there's going to be a whole bunch of people that will start, talking about different things. And hopefully the ones who are rational and the ones who, just want to fight for a better future will start to look up and see, oh, I'm not the only one who just, I just want to make the world a little better. I want to see positive steps. And I think that one of the interesting things about Andrew Yang, I think he's one of those people who can lead us towards that conversation. The inclination to want to slow down our society, I would say this is Trump supporters especially, I think that comes from like a built-in mechanism that we have, that when things start to get out of control, is we want change to slow down. That happens in our personal lives. Like anytime we go through a period of high fluctuation and change, we tend to be stressed out, and we often want to escape to the cabin or go for a walk or slow down. And I think that same feeling was part of the reason why some people were voting for Trump. Like they felt like pockets of their country were falling apart, and he was sort of like harkening back to like certain changes or something. And I think that's a healthy response sometimes, but it isn't, that can be good and bad depending on how it's done, right? And I just think that Yang has a measured approach about what things we should keep the same and what things we should change, the left and the right. So it's easy to kind of get caught up in left, bad, 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 right, bad, 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 depending on our perspective, right? But I think it's eventually we're going to have a slightly more sophisticated perspective on what that means to be left and right, and why we have both and why both are important. And so from my perspective, conservative is to hold on to what is good, to try to make a list and prioritize those things, and to hold on to whatever those things are good, and to slow down change at an appropriate level. And sometimes the right's going to pull a little harder on that brake, and sometimes it's not. It's going to just take its hands off the brake, because different seasons of existence, as a group of humanity, and as different pockets of humanity, sometimes we need to slow things down, and sometimes we want to stimulate. And so the left is more like creation and destruction, and so all these new wonderful ideas are coming out of the left, and they're thinking of new things, and they're disrupting, and that's wonderful, but it always has to be measured. And what we want to do is to connect that with clear-sighted vision. Andrew Yang, he'll be like, not left, not right, but forward. And from my perspective, the idea would be, yeah, we do want to hold on to certain things, and this world is changing so fast, and our kids are going to be so much different than we are, that we need to slow down where we can, where it makes sense. We want to do it in a measured way, but we also need to know that we're going to be going faster. We are going to be going faster. Our decision making needs to become more nimble, more aware, more data driven. We just have to be smart about this, because as AI grows, there's multiple implications of what that's going to mean. That's going to mean, Andrew Yang, he talks a lot about how that's going to mean that certain jobs are going to disappear. But I think what we need to get in our eyes is that it's not just that certain jobs are going to disappear. That means the nature of work is going to change. What we're going to be doing is going to be different, because certain subsets of jobs just won't have relevance anymore. And we are going to have to we're just going to find the world's going to change so much that all these new different jobs are going to come up. And so one of the things that I would think that people should consider is the gig economy, right? And right now on the left, that would be not popular. And on the right, I don't even know, it's like not really that much of an issue, but it's this growing thing, and it's really important for a certain percentage of the population. But imagine the world is moving more and more in that direction. There's not really much we can do. The gig economy is coming. Well, we can guarantee minimum wages here in where I am. It's like $14 an hour. And that's great. But it's also important that, when you guarantee that minimum rate instead of the freedom dividend kind of idea, is that right now, we're only valuing jobs that produce money. And going forward, we need to value what produces value in our society. We need to somehow produce that value. And we need to have levers and systems and a perspective and data-driven thoughts about where we want to go with our society, what benefits us as individuals, what benefits us as groups, and what's impeding us. And we need to use information to do that. And is anyone else awake to that fact? Not that I can tell. So I would just say to Trump supporters, don't you think it'd be amazing if the right could just have a conversation with Yang on the left? Like, it could be really productive. He may not stand a chance of winning. And I really love one of his answers, and I think that it's fascinating, is he doesn't just, if he doesn't get in, he's not like, well, then I'll just, That's all I want, is to be president or vice president. He really wants to just be there no matter what. He was alarmed by what was happening. He's got real answers. His book has got lots of really interesting information. There's some amazing interviews on his perspective. He's got way more developed policies than you would ever imagine, right? And he's like passionate about some of these different things, and he's got so many that you're for sure going to disagree with some. You just will. But the cool thing is you're having a conversation with someone who's like really trying to have a conversation. We need that. We need to have people who want to have conversations and who want to actually try to figure this out. And like, if you guys can agree on certain things, like the debate could really shift. He's already shifted the debate like in very important ways. But like, wouldn't it be fantastic if he continued to shift the debate in slightly less extreme ways? Like, so from my perspective, and I don't know, Trump voters would probably completely divvy up on this one, but to a certain percentage of Trump voters, I would say that there is a bit of an alignment forming between Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang and Trump in a really weird kind of way. And it's this, let's get past. It's tough. Let's get past CNN and MSNBC. So from our perspective, some parts of what's happening in the Trump thing are not healthy, right? But that would also be true in the Sanders gang. There's some unhealthy parts there. But we also, I think most people who are in support of Yang can see why Tulsi's so important to the conversation, and why Sanders is important to the conversation, and why Trump's, he has been important to the conversation. It hasn't addressed certain things, but we're pretty scared of what lies on the lurks. And wouldn't it be amazing if we could be having a conversation where we both weren't terrified of each other? And I think that he's the candidate who represents some sanity. He seems willing to have conversation. And that means a lot.